7 seconds. That is the window. Not a minute, not 10, 7 seconds. Before the handshake lands, before a name is exchanged, before the first word has even finished leaving someone's mouth, a verdict has already been reached. Trustworthy, competent, dangerous, safe. A complete psychological profile of a total stranger, built, filed, and acted on, while they were still walking through the door. Most people hear that and think, judgmental, shallow, maybe even a little cruel. Wrong lens. This isn't a character flaw. It's not rudeness. It's not bias. Not yet. This is survival. Thousands of years ago, the brain that took 10 minutes to decide if a stranger was a threat didn't survive to make a second decision. The first impression isn't a social habit. It's an ancient automated alarm system running silently in the background every single time a new face appears. Think about the "you too" moment. The waiter says, "Enjoy your meal." And before the brain can stop it, out comes "you too." The freeze, the heat in the face, the desperate, irrational wish to sink through the floor. That cringe isn't just awkwardness. It's a live collision between two completely separate systems inside the brain. One runs social scripts on autopilot. The other monitors the performance. And when the monitoring system catches the script crashing mid-sentence, the result is that very specific, very familiar, full-body wince, a glitch, a flicker of the unpolished self breaking through, and then the replay. The same moment, looping. Not because it mattered, because the brain decided it mattered. 2 seconds of experience. Days of mental review. Here's where the science gets precise. Psychologists call this thin slicing. The brain takes a razor-thin slice of experience and builds an entire judgment from it. Nalini Ambady ran a study that shouldn't work, but does. She took silent 10-second clips of university professors teaching. No audio, no words, just movement, posture, and presence. Students rated those professors on effectiveness. And those ratings, from a 10-second silent video clip, almost perfectly matched the ratings from students who had spent an entire semester in those classes. 10 seconds. That's it. Equivalent to 4 months of sitting in that classroom. Hold on, so follow this for a second. How does the brain do that? It isn't analyzing credentials. It isn't evaluating the argument. It's scanning for a heuristic, a mental shortcut, a fast pattern that signals competent authority or unreliable stranger. Posture, movement, cadence, the micro-tension around the eyes. The brain isn't looking for the truth of a person. It's looking for the fastest possible match to a known category. And then Alexander Todorov at Princeton pushed this even further. He showed participants a stranger's face for just 1/10 of a second, a literal blink, and asked them to rate the person's competence. Those snap judgments predicted the outcomes of actual political elections. 1/10 of a second. The brain had already voted. Wait, here is the real glitch. These fast judgments are biologically sharp, but socially, they're broken. The brain is wired to detect emotional charge, nervousness, excitement, barely contained anger. It picks these up almost instantly, but it's completely blind to the reason behind them. Someone shaking might be terrified or thrilled. The survival brain sees shaking and stamps it, unstable. The alarm fired for exactly the right reason and pointed at completely the wrong fire. The engine behind all of this is the amygdala. Small, almond-shaped, buried deep inside the brain. It acts as the security guard, scanning every new face for threat before the rational, thinking prefrontal cortex has even finished booting up. By the time conscious thought arrives, the verdict is already filed. Then there's the halo effect, first mapped by Solomon Asch in the 1940s. This is the brain's energy-saving cheat code. If one trait reads positive, confidence, height, a firm handshake, the brain automatically layers on an entire halo of other positive traits. Intelligence, warmth, trustworthiness, even honesty, no evidence required. Here's how fast it compounds. The more confident the broadcast, the steadier the voice, the more direct the eye contact, the wider the halo spreads. One strong signal becomes a cascade of assumed virtues, and the brain never checks its own math. Albert Mehrabian spent years studying what the body says when the mouth goes quiet. What he found was simple and a little unsettling. When body language and words contradict each other, people trust the body every time. A slumped shoulder, a dropped chin, arms pulled inward. These don't just send a signal, they overwrite everything the words are trying to say. The body is always broadcasting. Always. The question is what signal it's sending, and whether that signal matches the truth. Back to that waiter moment. When the you-too slips out, the polished surface cracks. For one unguarded second, the real person shows up. Here's the part that's easy to miss. That crack is often where a better first impression actually starts. The survival brain craves dominance and confidence, but the social brain, the part that evolved to build tribes, not just survive threats, craves authenticity. The moment the performance breaks, the moment there's a real laugh at a real mistake, something shifts. The scanner turns off. The person turns on. Because a perfect, polished stranger feels like a potential threat. A flawed, laughing human feels safe. The glitch becomes the bridge. Now, the 7-second window has migrated. In the physical world, the brain scans posture, voice, and smell. In the digital world, pixels and layout, same ancient system, completely new environment, a LinkedIn profile, a dating app, a website homepage. Thin slicing is still happening. It's just cutting through different material now. A blurry photo isn't just a bad picture. To the ancestral brain, low image quality signals low effort. Low effort signals low status. Low status signals risk. A profile with no bio isn't mysterious. It's a data void. And the brain fills data voids with suspicion. Every time. These are hyper slices, not a person. A curated gallery of signals. And here's what nobody talks about. The digital halo. A clean aesthetic, a high-resolution headshot, a sharp color palette. These hack the amygdala into assigning competence to someone who has none. The same survival checklist that evolved on the savannah is being manipulated. By lighting, by font choice, by the warmth of a background color. The brain that once scanned a stranger's face for aggression is now being fooled by a well-designed thumbnail. But this efficiency comes with a cost. When the brain leans on heuristics, it opens a door that can't be easily closed. Implicit bias, not a character flaw, not a moral failure, a filing error. The brain, under pressure to categorize fast, reaches for the nearest available pattern. Not the individual standing there. The cultural folder that was loaded in long before this moment. In 7 seconds, the brain grabs the nearest folder. If that folder is filled with assumptions instead of evidence, the first impression stops being a read of the other person. It becomes a reflection of the observer's own history. This is the biological tragedy of the first impression. The system built to protect is the same system that blinds. The brain will always prefer a fast, wrong answer over a slow, right one. That's not a malfunction. That's the original design. Speed over accuracy. A trade-off made by ancestors who needed to react before they could think. The only way to counter it is to deliberately interrupt it. Force the prefrontal cortex into the room. Tell the brain, the alarm is firing, but the data is incomplete. Stop thin slicing. Start actually looking. It's not automatic, it requires a choice. But choices, made consistently, rewire the filing cabinet. Here's the larger truth underneath all of this. There is no such thing as just walking into a room. Every step, every glance, every slight shift in posture, these are signals. All of it feeding into a stranger's amygdala, in real time. And the whole time, the same scan is running in reverse. Every interaction is just two people guessing, each reading the other, building a picture from almost nothing. That you-too moment, not a failure, a synchronization point. Two biological machines running the same ancient glitchy software, briefly caught in the same exposed moment of humanity. That's not embarrassing. That might be the most honest thing that happens in most human interactions. Think about that. Every impression carefully managed, every signal curated. And the moment that actually connects two people is the one that slipped through unscripted. The performance drops, the alarm quiets, and for a brief moment, Two survival machines stop scanning each other and just exist in the same room. 7 seconds. It feels like nothing. A blink. The time it takes to exhale. But inside those 7 seconds, a decision is made. A bridge is built, or a wall goes up. The amygdala fires. The heuristics run. The checklist completes. And the brain delivers a verdict before conscious thought has even arrived at the door. Remember that. And remember this. The most interesting things about a person cannot be thin sliced. The real texture, the contradictions, the unexpected depth, the thing that doesn't fit the first impression at all, that takes time. The brain making that scan is running 50,000-year-old software. The person being scanned is far more than any scan can reach. The first impression is just the cover. The real story begins when you decide to keep reading.